Welcome back to Transfer Talk, the official podcast of the West Virginia Enduro Series. I'm Micah, your president and your fellow sufferer on those transfer climbs. So if you've been counting down the days until race season, you're not alone. The off season is officially wrapping up. We're getting our bike styled and we're getting closer to that first race of the season. So today's episode is our preseason kickoff. We're talking about what's coming this year, the new venues, the new categories, the energy of race weekend, and why this might be one of the best seasons we've ever had yet. So the off season usually feels really long, longer than we all kind of hope for it to be. You go from racing every month, seeing the same crew at events, riding new trails, and then boom, it's suddenly over. Your bikes get dusty, daylight disappears early, and race weekends feel a long way away. But that break also builds excitement. By the time spring rolls around, riders are ready again, training rides are happening, group rides pick back up, and the conversation always turns to the same question: when's the first race? Then there's something special about that first event of the season. Everyone shows up a little nervous, a little excited, and maybe a little unsure about their fitness after the winter. But the moment riders roll into the start gate for stage one, it all just comes back. So one thing that makes our series special is the variety of venues that we get to race. So every stop has its own personality, its own trail style, and its own kind of racing. Some venues are fast and flowy, some are steep and technical, some reward fitness, some reward precision. And that mix keeps the series interesting all season long. This year, we're heading back to some amazing locations across the state and even some new ones. So we're going to kind of walk through these real quick. So our season opener, round one, is at Canal. That's the Black Bear Enduro. This is usually where it always begins. I think it's been the first race since we've had the series in 2014. So it's where it all begins. We're shaking off the winter legs. The nerves are high. And everyone's just kind of hungry to see where they're going to stack up. Valley Falls. This is a good one. It's got fun trails, great racing. It's usually always a great atmosphere. If you've never been to Valley Falls, super great. The trails are fast, they're rocky, technical. They got a ton of rock gardens, some big drops. It's usually a pretty great venue. You pedal up a blacktop road. It's not real long of a climb. You pass your car 4 or 5 times, so plenty of times to refill on snacks, drinks, whatever you want. Monday Lick, that was a new one we brought in this past season. It's a little bit different than anything else we usually race. It's more of like it's kind of like a backcountry ride, but kind of like a machined flow backcountry ride in a good kind of way. The trails are fast, flowy, bunch of natural doubles you can pull for, some hard switchbacks. It's a great place to ride like a 140, 150 bike if that's what you have. Still has some gnarly rock gardens, some drops, the typical enduro stuff. Slady Fork, I mean, it's classic. It's the true raw backcountry riding. That's the one that I think that always pushes everyone's limits to the max. Just because of how big of a day it is and the terrain. It's awesome terrain, but it wears on you. Very physical, super fun place, beautiful terrain. Winter Place, new venue for this year. These trails no one's ever seen, no one's ridden them. I was able to get out this past fall, start hiking in some of that stuff. We got a lot of cool things coming there. I think you guys will really enjoy it. Snowshoe, it's one of the most iconic riding destinations I think that we have. The stages there are always good. You can always count count on a good race there. So usually pretty nice, always getting the ski lifts. So we got some cool things for that this year. Can't wait to give you guys some more information about that. So you have to stay tuned. Capon, that one's going to be a little bit different than what it's been in the past. Usually it's really rocky, fast, high speed. So kind of technical and physical demands your focus. This year it's going to be switched up a little bit. We're not going to run any of the Zeiler trails. We pushed that one back this year into September. There's getting some new trails built, so we'll have 3 new trails hopefully to race. 3 new enduro trails that we'll be able to race by the time our race comes around there. So haven't seen that stuff. Don't know what to tell you guys on what it's going to be like. So we're all just kind of in for a treat on what to expect there. So it should be good. And then another new one is going to be the New River Gorge race, which will be held at Ace Adventure and at Needle's Eye, which is down there in Fayetteville. This one's going to be cool. It's going to be real cool. This one's going to be kind of part of a bigger festival. So it'll be some group rides for the family and stuff like that. It's the people that aren't racing. There'll be live music. A lot of cool stuff going on. Can't wait to give you guys more details about that. I'm working with the OEDC and the town of Fayetteville and putting that together, as well as some other people, some other organizations, I should say. So can't wait to give you guys more information about that. But throwing it back again to Ace and Needle's Eye, we're going to have a few stages at Needle's Eye. Those ones are fun. That's all machine built stuff. It's going to kind of be like what you're going to get at Monday Lick, fast, flowy, lots of natural doubles you can pull for, very high speed, a lot of fun. I've been really enjoying riding my bike there. It's a blast. I did get out and get to ride some of the stuff at Ace that I'd been hiking and flagging previously. If you guys follow me on Strava or on my personal Instagram, you guys can find me. I'm pretty easy to find. Not going to share it, but if you find it, you find it. You'll get to see some of the cool stuff that I've been doing down at Ace. 2 of the stages there, I'll give you a little heads up. They're going to be about 1,000-foot descent, if not a little more. Pretty sick. Got some few areas that are pretty high exposure. We're going to put some safety netting and stuff up there. Some cool rock sections. Very fast, technical. Can't wait to show you guys that stuff. It's going to be a blast. So that kind of wraps up the venues for this year. We're going to move to some new categories. So one of the things we're working on, that we're kind of always working on behind the scenes, is how we can make the series work well for all types of riders. So last year you saw we brought in a beginner class. We made a beginner class for every single race last year. I think that did really well. I think everyone that did that really enjoyed it. I think this year the focus on the beginner class is trying to make things a little bit more beginner friendly. Some of the venues it's a little tough, like especially out of Kanawha. Those trails are just very steep and technical. So trying to get things that are a little bit more beginner friendly, I think is going to be key to help grow the sport of enduro, bringing in new riders. So trying to get things together for all types of riders, from experienced riders chasing podiums to riders entering the first enduro event. We've made some adjustments to the race categories to kind of make a competition a little more balanced and a little more welcoming. So like I said, the beginner class, we've added that. So we've also added an expert class. So we added the expert class this year to kind of bridge the gap between the sport class and the pro class. We just felt like there was a gap there that was missing, that we could kind of not really take advantage of, but take advantage of. I think that's going to allow us to bring in more riders. We've kind of been lacking in that area. I think we're losing people that are too fast for sport class, but then they go to the pro class and they're dead last and they're like, well, why am I doing this? This isn't fun for me. And then they go to the sport class and they're like, hey, you guys are sandbagging, blah, blah, blah. So we added that expert class. So it's those guys that are, in between sport and pro that, aren't quite to that pro level but are too fast for sport class and that still want to do the full course. So even some of the 40 plus guys I know that are like, hey man, like I still want to do the full course. That you guys can move to that expert class as well. That class is for everybody. I think that's going to be a good class this year. I think there's going to be a lot of competition in that class. It's going to be tight times there. Then we also added a pro e-bike class for the men and women. So that kind of bridges the gap between, kind of the sport e-bike guys that show up every weekend to ride with their kids or, there's not in shape or, just getting into the sport and they bought an e-bike to get into the sport. That kind of allows them to stay in the sport class. And you have the guys that, race downhill. They want to come do like 2 or 3 races and be like, hey, like I want to show up, but I want to race on my e-bike. That's where they would kind of fit into that pro class. And, some of the guys that race pro or would race the expert class are like, hey, like, like if we had a pro e-bike class, I would race pro e-bike class instead. Like I enjoy riding the e-bike more, teach their own. So, we created that class as well in hopes of trying to bring more people into that. And also bringing in that expert class, I think that's going to help continue to grow the junior class. Some of you U18 boys that, I talk to pretty frequently, sometimes get to ride with, you all talk about, hey, like we want to do the full thing as the pro guys. So I think that expert class is going to help pulling some of those U18 boys up, which is going to also help make that class competitive for some of the newer riders that are coming into U18 that don't want to race beginner or sport, even the U14. So you riders are quick, you youngins. So I think that's going to also help continue to grow the junior racing. And I think it's just going to help overall, adding all the classes. It's going to help keep the racing more competitive and also a little bit more fun for everybody. It's kind of where we're at. So enduro racing is at its best when everyone has a place on the start list, whether you're racing for the podium or just racing to challenge yourself. So the race day experience, race day has its own energy. If you've raced before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The parking lot starts filling up early in the morning, riders getting their bikes ready, friends catching up over the winter. It's just a big mix of excitement and nerves in the air. And, eventually after the rider meeting, everyone starts heading towards the transfer climb, the very first climb. It's everyone just kind of settling into the rhythm for the day. It's very fun. And then it's kind of the moment that everyone waits for. Standing in the start gate, you're thinking to yourself and you go, all right, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then you take your start and you're off. It's kind of the start of the series, the start of the season. That's always an exciting time. One of my favorite times. And then, racing's great, but really what makes this special is the community around the whole series. It's you guys, the riders, the volunteers, the families, our series sponsors, the special event sponsors that each promoter gets. Every event brings together people who love riding bikes and being out on the trails. You see riders helping each other fix mechanicals, flats, giving people water, giving people snacks. I mean, just the camaraderie that comes with it. It's great. You see juniors pushing themselves and getting faster every season. I love to see that. I hate watching you U18 boys kick my butt, but it's also really fun and enjoyable at the same time. You see parents supporting their kids and cheering them at the finish line. These are what makes our series so great. And last but not least, kind of looking ahead to the first race of the season, At this point, everyone's kind of getting ready. I'm getting itchy. I'm getting antsy, trying to get out, ride my bike more. Training rides are picking back up. Fitness is coming back. Suspension's getting dialed. My suspension's out for service right now. So trying to get that stuff dialed in before series starts. Everyone's starting to think about the first race weekend. And before long, we'll all be standing at the top of stage one, waiting to start. So the season's almost here. We got new venues, new categories, and new riders joining the series, and a whole new set of stories waiting to happen. Again, I'm Micah, your president and your fellow sufferer on those transfer climbs. This is Transfer Talk, and we'll see you at race 1.